want to go to Dave Hall. He was a very dear friend of Travis Alexander. What is so amazing to me, almost laughable, is changing your stories to three widely divergent stories about the death of Travis Alexander and thinking that just because she's beautiful that we're going to buy into it. Like, we're blinded by her beauty and her singing behind bars. You saw Jodi Arias the day after Travis's murder. What did you observe?
Well, about 12 hours after Travis was murdered, she was up here in Utah hanging out with me and my business partners, going to some business functions and out to eat with us. And one thing that stood out to me was it's the middle of June. It's almost 100 degrees, and she's wearing a long-sleeve shirt. And this is not someone who was ever known to be modest in her attire. And you can see that from a lot of the provocative photos that she's been seen with. So
Dave Hall,
the long sleeve shirt
I'm
was
curious. You said the day after she went out to eat. And you know why that strikes me wrong? Can I see Dave Hall, please? Because Dave, I recall when my fiance was murdered, I could not eat. I don't know how long passed. I lost down to about 89 pounds. I couldn't eat. I couldn't even stand the smell of food. It made me sick. And I remember the first thing I put in my body after his murder, I drank a glass of orange juice. It had been so long since I ate or drank. So the night after, he stabbed 29 times, including a slit that goes from ear to ear across his neck. She's out having dinner?
Yeah, and looking back at that night, there was nothing in her demeanor that made us think, wow, you're acting weird today. The long sleeve shirt, definitely as we look back, that was a little bit weird. The new hair color, the fact that her license plate on her car was upside down, all these things in retrospect definitely were clues. But, you know, just because someone shows up with a different color hair and a long sleeve shirt, you don't question, hey, who did you kill?
I want to go back to Travis's friend, Dave Hall. He actually saw and spent time with Jodi Arias the day after one of his best friends was brutally murdered. Dave, when you're hearing all of this scenario unfold, it sounds as if the defense is painting a picture of someone completely different than the friend that you knew, Travis Alexander. It sounds like somebody completely different.
You're right. It is someone completely different. And keep in mind, we only have Jodi's side of the story at this point being brought forth. We don't have Travis's side of the story of what really happened around the murder scene and stuff. You know, thankfully we do have some photos to corroborate some of the sexual activity, more importantly to corroborate the murderer in this case.
What was your impression of Jodi Arias when you first met her?
You know, when I first met her, she was an attractive girl, and I was happy for Travis finding someone that he liked. But as I got to know her, there was just something evil about her, and Travis knew very well that when we went out with our wives to do stuff, that don't bring Jodi around, because
Why?
None of his friends liked Jodi.
Back it up. Who didn't like Jodi?
None of Travis's friends liked Jodi.
Why?
You know, there was just something really weird about her, and when she spent time with you, you even got more creeped out. And Travis brought her up to Utah and spent time at my house. So Travis and Jodi had spent time, in fact, stayed an entire week at my house. And just the things that she did while she was at my house just creeped me and my wife out. And so just the way she acted in our home, the way that she had this awkward silence about her, the way that she almost had no soul. You could almost see right through her. It's not someone that you could sit down and have a conversation. She was very mysterious.
You know, I find that so interesting what you're saying, Dave Hall, and I know it doesn't mean anything in a court of law. I know that. But I am so intrigued with what you're saying. It's almost as if you know, we consider ourselves the top of the food chain, you know, but when you're around somebody, you get an instinct, you get a feeling, and I don't know why we get those what we call hunches, but all of his friends had this same feeling about her. I find that very, very telling.